very much, Sarah.
Yes, we are.
Welcome, welcome. And welcome to everyone. Of course, I remain Ola, your DEI bestie. You know what we do here. To anyone who's joining for the first time, you know that to anyone that's joining for the first time, let me tell you what we do here. We unpack all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I just really hope that you always leave every video on this channel with more inspiration to co-create a more equitable and inclusive world. To my OG subscribers, welcome back. You know how we do here. You know what we do here. You know what we spark here. And I'm here again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the fourth episode of our Moment of Exclusion series. And today we have the dynamic Sarah Egbo, my professor herself. So, quick backstory. Sarah and I went to school together. We did our
Yes,
master's
so.
together at IDS at the University of Sussex, and Sarah and I
Mm-hmm.
Nigerians in class. So of course, we became,
Of course.
closer than friends, and we have
Yeah,
seen a lot
if not
of
sisters.
life. Yeah,
My
yeah,
idea
yeah. Oh my
sister.
god, I have a rush of memories. But today,
Mm-hmm.
Sarah is going to be sharing her wisdom with us, because she was so brilliant that she was Sarah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Brilliant. So Sarah was so brilliant that she was scooped up for a fully funded PhD in the US. And she's going to be sharing how that journey as a Nigerian PhD researcher in the US has been. But before we dive into all of that, Sarah, I'll kick it over to you to introduce yourself. Please tell us, give us the spice, the tea. Who is Sarah? Who are you?
Thank you so much, Ola. I appreciate the introduction. That was so wonderful. Yeah, hi everyone. It's so great to be on this episode. Like, it's such an honor to be here. As Ola said, I was course mates with her at IDS at the University of Sussex. My name is Sarah Egbo. And after my master's at Sussex, UK, I went back to Nigeria to work for about 4 years with a nonprofit called Gender Mobile Initiative. And what I did was basically to oversee a nationwide program that we had, um, where we supported Nigerian universities, polytechnics, and other kinds of tertiary institutions on preventing and intervening in cases of campus sexual violence. Because I was interested in it. It was something that started off as a dissertation for me, and it ended up being my full-time job for 4 years. Never would I ever have thought that that would happen. But flowing from that, after a while, I was like, okay, I think I want to explore the research side of things, having been in practice for a couple of years. And that's where I like ventured into the world of academia, located in Kansas State within the USA. So right now, I'm currently doing my PhD in what is known as prevention science. Is also known as human development and family science as well. And it's basically studying about things that affect factors that affect human relationships at the interpersonal level, at the institutional level, at the societal level, whatever level you can think of, family level, depending on your area of interest. So mine is more at the family and interpersonal level, particularly in higher education. So basically a continuation of what I was doing in Nigeria as a sexual violence prevention advocate, but looking at it from the research angle. So I'm in my second year now, rounding up my second year in a couple of months, and hopefully getting into my third year by August 2026, by God's grace. So yeah, that's a bit
Wow.
about me.
To be honest, time really flies. It feels like yesterday when you were leaving for the US. Like it just I can remember like
Right.
all the
Yeah.
moments leading to that process, and now you're almost done with second year. Sarah, there are amazing universities in Nigeria, around the world. I know that there are several other
Mm-hmm.
destinations apart from the US, um for international students and for international researchers. But why did you decide to go
Mm-hmm.
to the US? And for you, Kansas State University in particular, were there any deciding factors, tipping points for you as an international student? I'm really curious about that.
Hmm. So the US, in all honesty, wasn't my first choice.
Mhm.
Full disclosure, it wasn't my first choice. I actually had prioritized the UK as my first choice because I mean it's known territory. I'd
Yeah,
been there for my master's degree, right? And so I wanted to go back to a place that was more comfortable for me if I was going to leave the country. Because well, culture shock is nobody's mate. And so having to navigate that phase of having to learn like be in a different environment, having to learn how to accumulate or acclimatize rather to the environment, people, how to figure out your way and all. I wasn't so sure I wanted to go back into that world.
yeah.
So I was kind of hoping that UK would be the place for me, but
Mm,
as God would have it, God was like, US is the place for me. But it's not like I didn't consider the US at all. It's just in terms of priorities.
yeah,
I would say UK was over the US for me. But nonetheless, I still like love the fact that I'm studying in the US. I love the US because the US, in terms of my field and a lot of fields I've come across when it comes to like top research globally, the US actually has it. They have the facilities, they have the people, the professionals. Like the person who is my
mhm,
major professor, she's one of the top voices when it comes to research on and even practice on sexual violence prevention in higher education.
mm,
So like having those professionals in the space, like
yeah.
people that know what they're doing,
Mhm,
and it's not even just what they know what they're doing, they are also like they're also people of character as well. That was something that really attracted me as well. And K State is known as one of those top universities as well. That when it comes to research, that is not just like theoretical, but you look at it in the applied lens. Well, that's part of what we call our research here, like applied research. So basically, trying to apply it as much as possible to your real life experience, as opposed to just going to class and then doing classwork and then that's it. So I really like the fact that it had that edge in terms of applying things so that way it doesn't feel like I'm just going through the four walls of school and graduating with a degree in hand and then having to navigate going back into the world of work without like much application while studying. So those were the factors that made me like consider the US as, hey, this is a top destination for research. This is also a top destination for people who know what they're doing in the research area I'm interested in. And then US also in terms of funding is very generous as well.
mm,
And so funding was another factor that I considered as well. And also the fact that US is a country that has always fascinated me. Like there's so many people like it's so huge and I thought I knew the depth of it not until I got into the country. I'm like, oh wow, this place is really huge.
mm.
So there's so much to explore here in this country without even having to travel to other countries. So a lot of those factors really made me consider coming into the US, and I would say that looking back, it's one of the best decisions I've made studying in the US. So I like it here.
Oh wow, I'm gonna pick up on that. It's been the best decision or one of the best decisions you've made. What were those expectations you had before landing 2 years ago? And did they match up to the reality? I would really like to know. How did you expect the whole life in academia within the US, living in the US as a migrant student? What were those expectations you
Hmm.
had? And can you compare it a little bit with the reality that you faced?
Oh gosh. That question. Huh. No. Where do I even start from? So, in terms of expectations, so I'd expected that first and foremost, given that studied in the UK, I thought adjustment was going to be easier on me given that
Mm,
lived abroad before. Yes, I'd mentioned that, oh, I wanted to go back to known territory, but in this case, US was the place that I decided to come to eventually. But I still felt like, oh, based on my experience living and studying abroad before, it was going to be quite seamless. Like, hey, I'm
mm,
going to just blend in. Let me not say perfectly, but it's not going to be that hard. And then also Hollywood does this excellent job of showing you life as if no, it is the best. Like, US is the best place in the world. Wherever it is that you're living, you're not living until you come into the US. So
yeah.
yeah, I'd expected that Hollywood version of US, like skyscrapers everywhere, like living the easy life, like being in the land of, the free and all, like just having that word that things are done, almost like things are done for you, like you don't even have to do much, you don't have to stress, right? um and so in reality, it's not that.
Mm,
Like this, yes, there are some things that, particularly where you come from, you compare and you're like, oh, it's actually easier and better over here compared to back home. But it's not all that rosy, to be honest. It's not as rosy as the movies paint it as, particularly if you're depending on the part of the country you're in. And so for me, I'm in Kansas State, which is more of like a mostly middle income state. So it's not, first and foremost, all those high rise buildings, you won't see them here.
mm.
It's more it's much more closer to the countryside than to the big city
Mm,
side, which kind of like dimmed my expectations a bit. But over time, I'm actually beginning to like it. Like when I go to big cities now, I'm there for a while and I'm like, okay, I need to go back to my peace and quiet. I don't know why
oh,
people are running and acting like as if no, your lives are on a timer that needs to go off at some point in life. So I mean, that expectation, it was met in different ways, right? And so it's something that I had also expected people to be like less patient in a way
mm,
with, oh, me coming in and like having this expectation of knowing what to do and all. And so I was on my guard for most of the time. Like when I came in, I remember coming in and the first couple of months I struggled, but I didn't tell anybody, or I didn't tell most people, even if I was telling people back home, like how to get somewhere, because over here mobility is more of you having your vehicle than public
yeah.
transport system. And so, like little things like that, I was more like, oh, I'll just try and sort it out by myself. But the people around me were like, no, you just need to ask. Like they wouldn't hold it against you. Like they were very warm and welcoming,
Mm.
which really was shocking for me because yes, there is the side of Hollywood that is shown as woman, but there's also the side of, hey, you need to get yourself in order
Yeah, I
and know
get you.
how to get things done,
Mm,
right? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't that case over here. I was also able to like have that reality of, hey, not everybody is the same as you would think, or the expectations you see on media, what you see on media, pardon me, compared to what you experience in person, like could differ, and that would shape your experience. That would make you have a better idea of like how things operate here and help you as you get to acclimatize to a place. So yeah, I would say those are the things that
mm,
they were really they were really it for me when it came to expectations versus the reality of things. People here are really lovely and they are really willing to help. Even when the sense like, oh, you feel like you've got it figured out, they will still ask you like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, do you need help? Like,
mm.
is there something we could help you with? And they're willing to go as much to their extent that they would want to go out to help you. So it's been it's been good.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
really nice.
it's
That's
been quite the experience.
it's really nice to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I like it when people recognize that coming into a new system is a lot of work, and getting
Mm-hmm.
support is really important, especially in the beginning. But when you look back
Mm-hmm.
over the past 2 years, would you say that being like your experience in US academia, would you say that it has either shaped or challenged your identity, or even both? And in what specific ways do you think that has happened? Like you finding your way in the US in the academic system, what has been the interaction of that experience and your own identity as Sarah?
Oh yeah, there's been shifts, and the shift is still ongoing, and I don't know how long the shift will go on for, but it's the shift is still shifting. There has been a lot of like identity shifts and negotiations here and there.
Mm,
So like, yeah, going back even before the 2 years, like in Nigeria, I was at that place where when I'm entering rooms or as soon as I enter rooms, it's like I'm one of the top people there. I'm one of the like seasoned professionals that when it comes to policy, advocacy, like I know my onions, like I know my stuff and I did it really well.
mm,
And I still do, right? But then coming into like academia and more so US academia, first and foremost, like the US educational system is different from both UK and Nigeria. UK and Nigerian educational system, we still have our similarities together
mhm.
compared to US. US, where do you even want to start from? The English. So funny story, I'm going to track a bit back.
Yes, we're here
So
for it.
like the English, I'm going to get us sidetracked for a bit. So the English in itself, like that's also one of the things that I would say, oh, really help. Like it was a challenge for me adjusting because there's American English and then there's UK English.
British English, yeah.
We as Nigerians were more used to the UK English versus the American English. So like a lot of things like bag is purse over here. For what we know as football is soccer over here. Like
Ah,
I remember like getting on a bus one day and somebody was like, oh, the person was like, and he was a guy. The person was like, he really likes my pants. And I was looking like, what do you mean? Like, is it pants underwear or what? I was so
you were
embarrassed.
expecting
The guy was
trouser.
like, no, no, no. He meant like he was pointing at what he meant like trouser. I was like, oh my goodness. So it's trousers that you meant to say.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's called pants. So like things like that, like the learning experience of having to navigate a different kind of English. Yes, there's still some similarities, but honestly there are a lot of differences still. And then also like the educational system as well being different, like it has made me have to shift from just being a professional. I mean, being a professional is still there, but then also being a student, like being a learner, like having to go back.
Mm,
I don't want to say go back, but be in that place of humility that hey,
yeah.
things here are done differently. It's not what I've always known. This is very different from what I've known, and I have to get comfortable with that while also still maintaining like the identity that I have, like coming back home. It's not like I can erase my identity. You can't erase over 20
Yeah.
years of my life in a whim. That's not possible, right? So having to navigate that as well as learn from the environment. It's something that I've had like a back and forth with so many times. I've had to negotiate with.
Mm,
I remember I like so many times I find myself either in the classroom or in formal setting having to converse with other especially American students, and then they will bring up a topic. It could be something as simple as entertainment or something more theoretical. And so, because they already have that background, I mean, they were born and raised here, they would speak about it
yeah.
so seamlessly compared to me that I am new to all this, right? I'm new to that topic. I haven't even heard of that topic before getting here. And then it would feel like I was a lost person, like I wasn't supposed to be there.
My
I'm like
God.
this misplaced object that just found her way in there. And I like, oh, okay. You guys are talking about something I have absolutely no idea of. And if I talk about it, I might put myself at risk of looking stupid. But oh well,
Yeah.
let's see how this goes. So there are times that I just because I'm more of an observer, there are times that I observe first and then see if there's an entry point for me to get into discussion before I discuss. But if it feels like something I can't absolutely relate with, so for instance, the American football, I don't watch it, I don't follow the players and all. If they're talking about it, I'm not interested in it, so I don't talk about it with them. While there are other times that if you're talking about, let's say for in terms of um what development looks like for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
I would bring in my own perspective of hey,
This is
development from my own side of this
mm,
world is different, and it looks like this in this case. So bringing in like those different perspectives at times is more of a case of negotiation. So depending on the situation, I'll assess that, hey, is this something that I could show my identity as, oh, Sarah the Nigerian policy advocate, or are there times that I just like lean back a bit and then get to hear from them and learn from them, so that in subsequent discussions when they're talking about someone like Taylor Swift, I can say, oh, from the discussion we had last time, um, this is what I remember us talking or you talking about Taylor Swift, and then from there I try to find somewhere to go on with. So
mm,
yeah, there are so many points that I've had to shift and adjust depending on the environment for me to be able to blend. But then again, that's the thing. There are times that I really do not want to blend. I
yeah,
feel like blending all the time just loses you. Like it makes you feel lost in the crowd,
yeah,
and you're not somebody that's, you know, you don't have your own uniqueness to show. And so there are times that when conversations come up and they're different, and people are agreeing and all, I'm like, no, it's not, this is not what I'm going to go with.
yeah,
This is not what I believe. This is
yeah,
not something that I agree with. And it could be little things. It doesn't even have to be the big things. So for instance, I remember being at an AI like learning session, and somebody was like, oh, if you see the word delve, like DELVE, in an essay, it's likely that a person used AI in it. And I raised up my hand. I was
yeah.
like, no, I don't agree with that,
I agree.
because the country I come
We
from,
use it a
do
lot.
you know how we do you do you know how poetic we can be?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I didn't do that to embarrass the person, but to let the person know that, hey, just because you
yeah,
think of things in a certain way, that means like, oh, that's how it should be, or that's how it
yeah.
everybody should agree to, or that's how it should be all round. There are people that have different opinions or perspectives, which
Mm,
are not bad. It's just a different side to see things.
of
So
course.
yeah,
Of,
there I think many of the times though, most of the times though,
yeah.
I'm usually of the opinion that it's best to stand out rather than just be the person that just stays back, except you have no idea of what the conversation is about and you're trying to get a sense of things before you contribute, and that's fine and good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would
I'm
I would
def-
leave it for the end on now.
I'm definitely with you on that one.
Mm,
Like, to be honest, people often think
mm-hmm.
when we talk about acclimatizing and integrating, it means
Yeah.
erasing your own identity, erasing your thoughts and your belief systems. And no, that's not it. It's actually,
Mm-hmm.
speaking up for what you really believe in, representing yourself the
Mm-hmm.
way you feel authentic, and adding to the richness
Mm-hmm.
of that new environment that you're in. But I know that can be hard
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So I wonder if there have been moments
Mm-hmm.
where you had to say, let me sort of silence this part of myself in this new environment. Have you had any situations where
Mm-hmm.
you felt like you had to do that, either to silence it or adjust it so you'll not be too much? Yeah, something like that. That's
Yeah.
something you resonate with.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this saying, I don't know who particularly said it, but I've come across it on a post before. I can't remember where the platform, but then it was something along the lines of like, when you become an
Oh, I think there is a lag with the internet, but I'll just wait and see. Very lovely conversation. Very lovely conversation. I'm sure Sarah would rejoin in a minute. Was really interesting what she was saying about the difference between American English and British English, because you would expect that, I'm going to an English speaking country. I speak English. I would be able to communicate and understand when people, speak with me or when I'm speaking to others. But it's very shocking to then, go and see that it's really different. It's really different. That was one very interesting point that she made. Let me moment. Yeah, Sarah, you're back. We lost you.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. I just realized I was talking to myself. I'm like, you're. It seems like you're frozen. I couldn't hear you anymore.
Yeah, but you're back now. That's what matters. Please go ahead. You can start from the beginning because it was at the beginning that you got cut off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So I was just trying to. I started off with a saying that I said had come across on an online platform where it basically was showing how one who is an immigrant or international has to navigate between identities,
Mm,
because when you travel out, it seems like you're too foreign for back home where you came from, and
yeah,
then where you are, it's like you're too local, like you can't fit in, like you're as if you're someone that is from one of those um places that are not as developed as they
yeah.
would say as over here. And so in terms of like being having to like silence one's identity or soften one's identity, again I would say like having to observe the area. So I remember in one of the setting I was in, like there was someone that was just talking about people.
Talking.
And then he felt like, if it felt like as if he was just trying to put in like a group of people over other people. And I
Mm,
really wanted to talk, like, hey, what you're saying, it's not right. It's not something that you should be saying. But then because that person was in a position of authority and had just come in,
mm,
and as well as being in a time where I just come in, I'm still trying to understand like the legal landscape, the political landscape, and
yeah,
all. I
yeah.
just was, I was like, you know what you're saying is offending me. Oh. I'm not going to, for the sake of me getting into this space and trying to figure things out,
Mm,
understand things, I'm not going to talk about it. But
yeah.
I didn't talk about what the person was saying, but I still like gave, I don't say I give subtle comments to the person, but the people around me, shy, they heard my thoughts about the matter. I
Nice,
was like, no, this
nice.
person, you can't be stereotyping people based on how they look. It's
Mm,
not, this is not something that we have to be dealing in this day and age. But if you're going to be talking about it, I might as well also talk about it, but I might not talk it like say it directly to you, but at least the people
yeah.
around me, and the people around me were willing to hear. I
Mm.
remember like letting them know that, hey, we have skyscrapers back home. The country I left is not a country full of huts. I know. I remember somebody asking me like, "How did I get here?" I was like, I got here on a canoe boat. Like
That's
I
always
rode
so
for
epic.
days and nights.
That's always so epic to deliver it sarcastically.
Oh, oh my gosh. There
Yeah,
are some questions I get that I'm just like, you people, Google would save you all this. It will save you
if
this
you really wanted
embarrassment.
to know, right? If
It
you
will, it will save you from asking
because
all these silly questions.
yeah, and
Like,
that's where you know that the questions are not very innocent.
mm-hmm.
Because if you
Exactly.
if you really wanted to know, you would know,
Yeah.
right? So
Uh-huh.
it's like it's almost like questions that are supposed to like check you and put you in the place they
Yeah.
have, for you.
Right.
What I often
Right.
see, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I can relate very much to that example you shared. Like if you were back home, you will have no problem picking up the
Mm-hmm.
mic and publicly challenging the thought, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a new environment. I don't know what, how
Mm.
how power works here and what the
Mm-hmm.
dynamics is.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not
Mm-hmm.
be too vocal. And that's something that I see many people who migrate for whatever reason, work, education, a better
Mm-hmm.
whatever. That's one thing, one recurring example that I see them sharing. Almost like
Mm-hmm.
you have to sort of dumb down your voice or
Mm-hmm.
check your voice so that
Mm-hmm.
you're not too much. And
Mm-hmm.
I find that
Mm-hmm.
very sad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Es-
Yeah. I find it very sad as well.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
especially for someone who's used to being vocal,
Oh yeah, yeah. Being vocal, and another thing over here is that you can't be too direct. Like there's a
Mm,
diplomatic way about being direct, and that thing personally annoys me because like just say this is red, not the one that you're saying, oh, it's burgundy undertoned with a no, like let's say it how it is, and you can still say it in a way that is respectful that people will get it. But for you going about the bush and then
mm,
talking in a manner that is very, yeah, very
yeah,
unstraightforward,
yeah,
and
and that's
when you talk versus when I talk, and I have to,
mm,
so I find myself having to like code switch or tone down my voice like literally at times for people to hear me better or hear me without feeling like, oh, there's this person that, and it's not like I even have a loud voice. I'm like, how do you want people with loud voices to now act like
exact,
speaking out as well? So
exact,
it's actually a sad thing, like having to soften your tone or your thoughts or your parts of your
mm,
identity when you're in certain spaces, particularly if you don't know how the power dynamics are, how the legal landscape is like as well, and you're not sure, especially who is for you and who is against you. So over time now, I don't know if this is leading to our next question, but over time there are groups of people that I have realized that okay, these people are for me. If anything happens, we pray nothing happens, but if anything happens, oh, there are people that I can count on to help me
yeah,
out.
yeah.
So
But
that's a good realization.
that leads beautifully into the next question because I was going to ask you what forms of support, like specific granular forms of support that you found helpful in the earliest days when you were, settling in, grappling with all of these new circumstances and all.
Mhm.
What forms of support did you find helpful?
So I would say the forms of support I found helpful. Usually, you would think is more of formal forms of support, but it's for
Mm,
me, it's been more of the informal forms of support. So
mm,
by this, for instance, like I would say the strongest informal network I have a network of people who are like US people themselves here, but they are people that have been immigrants
yeah.
at some points in other countries, like they've been to
Mm,
another country other than this country they were born and raised in, and they see things differently. They have a wider perspective of how life is. They've seen that life doesn't begin and end here. They've seen that there are other places that you could go and live life, and you could experience the best and worst of life at the
mm,
same point in time even.
yeah.
And so those people are people that I'm able to relate most with because they get a sense of how it is like having to
Yeah.
navigate not just the identity of where you've come from, but also where you're at. And they understand like the difficulty that comes with getting used to a new area, getting acclimatized or getting adjusted, or yeah, getting to a new area. So I would say those people, like in terms of conversations I have with them, or in terms of even the little things like taking me on grocery taking me to the grocery store for shopping, or
Mm,
just inviting me to play games with them, or just like coming over to have like lunch with them and talk with them. I would say like those are the people that I relate with the most because they really do see things um, more from my perspective compared to people who haven't traveled out and who haven't
mm,
lived lives as immigrants in another country, even if it's for a short period of time.
mm.
Yeah, I would say those people are like the best people.
Mm.
um and then also there are like more organized groups of people as well, so there are also international like student networks as well that are also really helpful for me. They also and some of them are actually international students that have been here for a while. Some, it's a mixed set really. Some Americans that have traveled out, while some are international students that have been here for a while, that know what the terrain is like, that have been through like times and seasons, and they're like, oh, what's happening now? This is the way to go about it.
Yeah.
It's scary, but it's not that it's an impossible situation. So those people have also been forms of like strong, and they're still like a strong support system to me. Also showing me the way, also helping me to learn about like things, whether little or big things, whether it's
Mhm.
little things on how to get to somewhere,
Yeah.
or a big thing about or what's happening on the news, and how to check my mental health about it.
Yeah.
So those are people that I would say, oh, they're like specific groups of people that
Mm.
are really, that can really count on as support systems for me.
Oh, brilliant. To be honest, I agree with you about informal, channels of support being as critical as the organized ones. Sometimes you
Mm.
just need someone to chat with, someone to grab a coffee with, someone to
Mm-hmm.
ask, how do I what's the best supermarket to get
What's
the
the best supermarket to
price,
get the most affordable deals?
right? Like just very
Yeah.
small but foundational and critical things.
Mm-hmm.
Agree with you. I agree. And it's good that you had some of that. Me, on the flip side, though, have there been times where you probably felt excluded, or maybe not necessarily excluded, but you questioned, do I even belong here? Because I know that, that's something a lot of people grapple with when they're in a new country that is, different from home. You experience some small and some big moments where you're like, "Ah, my God, do I even belong here?" Or
Mm-hmm.
you feel, there was one example you were talking about, for instance, like the conversation example, where everybody's talking about a topic that they assume
Mm-hmm.
one knows or should
Mm-hmm.
know, but because
Mm-hmm.
of your roots and where you're from, you're not so
Mm-hmm.
familiar with that topic, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you're not really included in that conversation, something like that. Have you had those kind of moments?
Oh yeah, I have had those kind of moments, conversations like that. There are events I go to. So first and foremost, where I am is white dominated, so there are more whites than ethnic groups over here. So I'm part of the minority population,
Mm,
and so most times I remember coming in like to class the first time, and I saw that I was the only black skinned girl in the class.
mm,
Aside me, there was a black skinned guy, everyone else was white. And so that made me question first, like, oh, okay.
mm.
Compared to my degree before, that there were more people like from diverse backgrounds compared to here. So that made me like ask the question, like, do I even belong here? Not just it wasn't necessarily from a sense of inferiority,
Of course.
but more from a sense of, hey, you know how like there are spaces that even if they don't say it formally or officially, but it feels like it's more for one group compared to the other. Like
Yeah,
maybe if you add somebody to the mix, it's more like a tokenistic adventure that is being tried out, right?
yeah,
So I remember like having that thoughts in my mind, like, do I even belong here? Like being here. Then this was even before the conversations even started.
yeah. Just coming into the space.
Yes,
Mm,
yes, just coming into the space, and just noticing that you are the only one of your kind in there. And that made me kind of like feel discomfort, like trying to question, hey, like, what am I doing here? Like, do I have to prove myself? And that's another thing that I had to like contend with as well, because as a Nigerian, as an immigrant, regardless of where you come from, there is that, as I've discovered over time, there's that innate desire to either want to like tone yourself down or show yourself in a way that is not just a good representation of you as an individual, but more about your, like, where you're coming from, so like your country or your continent or whatever it is
Mm,
as well. So like when I am engaging in conversations that has to do with the US, like US culture, pop culture, or sports or academia or something like that, and I feel like I'm being out of place, it feels like the conversations are designed not to include me. It
mm,
makes me very often than not question if I'm supposed to be in that space, if I belong, if
mm.
people are even seeing me to
Yeah,
want to ask, like, oh, so how are things at your side, like how's like the movie industry in your side, what do they even call it, right?
yeah,
Those conversations make me question, like, do you guys even want me here? Do I
yeah,
feel like I should be a part of these things? And so I have that back and forth in my mind on whether I belong there. But then it's initially was something that I was like, I'm not sure I belong there. But over time, it's been something that, hey, the fact that I got an offer to come here and study here, it shows that I actually do belong here. I
yeah.
actually have a chance of, like, I've gotten the chance, I've been given the chance, not even I have the chance, I've been given the chance to be here. And
Mm,
so I'm going to take ownership of that belonging.
yeah,
And so even when conversations like that rise or situations like that arise that feel like, oh, we're not talking about things that pertain to the outsider of the group,
yeah.
somehow, somewhere, I find a way to sneak into those conversations and be like, oh, okay, you guys do, for instance, knock on the wood. Like, I remember one of the class conversations that we're having, and somebody knocked on wood, and I was like, what's that? Like, why did you do that? So I was like, oh, that's our version of saying, that's
No,
our version of
we
like forbidding an event from happening. I was like, oh, okay. Where I come from, we do
we
like
do like
this.
this.
So we do like this. We do
Yeah,
like this. I'm like, oh, okay. Everybody was shocked, like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm like, yeah. So whenever you're doing your own, me too, I'm going to do my own as well. So that I'll show that we
I
have
love
different
it
types of
so much. Yeah,
different types of things. And so things like that, like, counter that feeling of a lack of belonging thereof,
mm,
if those feelings arise. And I would say that this is still an ongoing journey. There are still spaces that
yeah,
I'm yet to go in, that I would go in, and it's that tinge of, oh, do I belong here, would come, that feeling would definitely come. But it's up to me to, like, navigate that, to negotiate that, to see if that is something I would want to accept or reject. And
mm,
so it's been honestly a series of, like, navigation and negotiation, like, do I belong here or not?
yeah.
But I'm glad for the most part that it always comes back to that space of, hey, I belong here. And even if you guys don't want me, not, let me not say, even if you guys, even if the environment doesn't seem like I belong, I'm going
Like
to make that space.
exact.
Like the saying that says that, oh, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring your own chair,
Bring
or
your own.
be the table, or something
Yeah,
like that. The
yeah,
the advocate in me stays true to that. Like, we're always bringing our own chair. Like, and
yeah,
if you want to, say, oh, I don't have a chair, then this table will not have the table. Somehow, somewhere, something is going to shift.
yeah.
So yeah.
The only thing I'm going to say in reaction to that is, yeah, I do agree with bringing your folding chair and, doing your best to find
Mm,
your own belonging, right? But I
mm-hmm.
also think that that should not take away from the responsibility of institutions and systems to be
Right.
redesigned and to sort of be more intentional about
Mm-hmm.
belonging, because true inclusion, like when we say that, oh, one of our values is inclusion, which many organizations and institutions tend to throw around,
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
like we invite everyone, we are welcoming of everyone. I think we should think more about what that means practically on a day to day
Mm-hmm.
for people who are not the majority. How
Mm-hmm.
are we redesigning systems to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that people feel more included and people can feel like they truly belong? Because giving
Mm-hmm.
someone access is just the beginning of the journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Inclusion is really defined by how they then feel when they take
Mm-hmm.
up space and when they're, accepting to be in that space. You see? So I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
two-way street. As much as you have the responsibility to also assert your presence, be
Mm-hmm.
authentic, and the system
Mm-hmm.
is also responsible for creating an enabling environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And I think I like about the US is that their systems, they have this type of, what they call it, autonomy, that I admire. Um there's a back and forth. Just looking at the government level, the
Mm,
federal government, look, if you want to look at it at government level, the federal government doesn't make all the decisions. Yes, they are the top of the decision making chain, but they are not the only ones that make all the
mm,
decisions. There are states that do it, and even within the state level, there are people that, like, within those levels, like even down to the smallest levels, there are people in systems in places that they're like, no, we're not going to agree to the status quo. So I like the fact that, in addition to the informal networks I have, there are actually formal networks that I have that are part of the system, that are also
mm,
challenging systemic inequities and saying, hey, this is not how things should be. I should actually make people feel safe and included and like they belong to something, regardless of what's happening. Climate wise, there are still people that still stand to their truth of, hey, we need to get to do things better, we need to be better. I really have some people in their spaces that they leverage their power and privilege, even though, yes, not everybody that leverages their power and privilege does it for the right reasons, or they
yeah.
they have the right motives. I'm going to, yeah, I'll be mindful of that statement, right? But there are people that genuinely are also challenging the systems, because they are also part of the systems, to see how things can be shaped for people to actually feel like they belong.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And that brings me to the next one. I was going to ask if you found communities or spaces where you feel like you're very seen, and you feel like when you're in those spaces, you feel like, oh, these people see me. Do you have examples of such community spaces or groups?
Yeah, I do. First one is an organization I'm part of. So it's having to do with, is I can't remember the full name right now, but it's having to do with professionals in higher education, and more specifically the caucus, or the section I'm under, is having to do with sexual violence prevention in higher education. So
Okay.
I remember, like, doing a conference, participating in their conference. I started engaging with them from last year, like attending their events and all. And then I remember participating in their conference at the beginning of this year.
Mm,
And I realized that my session was like one out of the very few multicultural sessions, for to keep
mm,
it diplomatic. One of those sessions that they are not the regular sessions that you see, and those words that are not the words that should be mentioned right now, like intersectionality,
mm,
was a session that I had, like, chaired on with another international student. And initially, when I was submitting that proposal to present at the conference, I thought that, oh, given what was like the climate over here, I felt like, oh, it might be something that might be turned down, because they're a big body. They might fear, like, oh,
back.
them
Yeah.
them having that presented could be a backlash on them. But it turned out that not only was I accepted, like, during the presentation, the room was packed, which shocked me, because there were a couple of rooms I entered, other rooms I entered during the conference, and it wasn't the case. Um, and then even afterwards, like, people came to meet me and the fellow international students that we presented, and offered their support. Like, they commended us, they offered their support on, hey, if you need anything or any support,
Oh
we're here
wow.
for you. And since then, like, I've been in talks with them, I've been having conversations with them, and that has even led to even much more involvement in terms of me, not just as a student, but also as an international student, like, bringing in my perspective. Now,
Yeah.
like, right now, I'm involved in planning for their upcoming conference. Like, okay,
Oh great.
you as an international student, we want to hear your thoughts. Like, what would you want to see in here? What
Mm,
do you feel like has been excluded and wants to be included? and then also even in subsequent like documents that they want to have this national outreach as well. Like,
Mm,
what do you want to be like seeing more? What do you think should be involved in these things going forward? So spaces like that make me feel seen, like it's a professional body, but then the people within the body, some of which, like, there are even people that I get to have, whether virtual or in-person, coffee with, to just like chat about the little things and even the big things and everything in between.
mm,
Those spaces, like, or that organization has been really of great help and support to me. And then even at the lower levels, like in my school as well,
mm,
I'd mentioned the international body that I'm part of, or the international students. There are a couple of international students association. One of them I'm part of called Bridges International. That those ones are also like really supportive and helpful for me as well in terms of navigating international life. And also in terms of like providing support as well for
mm,
me and even other internationals and even immigrants by extension, because there are also people who come here with their families and their
yeah,
families are not studying, right? They are spouses or children of immigrants, and that's another unique experience on its own as well.
yeah.
So the organizations, or the this international organization I mentioned and other organizations here at K State also provide support to those people as well, in form of activities, in form of conversations, in form
Mm,
of just having a space for people to just share their thoughts, and then supporting them in whatever way they can. So yeah, I quite have quite a couple of organizations and even people, and even my supervisor too. She's been quite supportive as well.
mm.
Um, yeah, she's been quite supportive, and my
It's great.
course mates as well. So
Mm.
I have quite a number of
So
people.
great that you have that. And I wonder if you've, in your 2 years, you've encountered any misconceptions that people have, especially regarding African or Nigerian scholars in the US. Have you encountered any one of them, like what people ordinarily think when they come across a Nigerian African studying or researching in the US?
Oh yeah, I have.
Please share. Please
I
share.
have. I have. Yeah, I remember having a conversation with some fellow like internationals, and we're just talking about how the experiences we've had, and someone was like, they literally were told like, oh, why you in our country to come and gain from us? Like, you're just here to take, well, for what we've built over the years. You're just coming here to take and gain from it. And the person was like, no, you're saying this as a one-way street. It's not just to come and take, like, we're also
An
giving back as well. It's a two-way street. It's not just that we're here with an empty cup to come and pack, and we don't return, give things in return. I mean, if not anything, like, you can't speak about the development and progress of this nation without the immigrant populations that have built it over time as well, right? And so those are conversations that we were having that centered up on not just saying, because that's the like major narrative, like seeing internationals as
Mm,
people that just are trying to escape from their country to come to another country
yeah.
and just take from what the system in the host country is providing, instead of saying it as, hey, we're also benefit, like we're also being of benefit to the country that we're in as
Yeah.
well, the host country. And then also the thought about thinking that, oh, people that come from back, other countries that are not in the host country, like immigrant populations per se, they
Yeah.
don't have things going well in their home country, or their home country has doesn't have infrastructure or is not as developed and all. And so we've had to counter that. I've had to counter that. I remember being in a development class and saying, hey, I think I've mentioned it already, but saying, hey, where I come from, we have skyscrapers, and there's somebody like we have billionaires, and there are people that have penthouses. It's not just over here. There's things that
Yeah.
happen back home as well. And so, like, showing them that we are also people that are givers, not just takers, and they see that in the presentations we do, even down to the littlest, like most little things like assignments or even just helping one with non-school things. They see that we also bring things as well to the table, and not just being takers. So those are assumptions that we've had to challenge over and over again, particularly for people that may have not come across immigrants or across like international populations, to let them know that hey, we are not just takers, but we're also people who give as well, and people who don't just give but build to actually make where we all are like better spaces for all.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting and well done. It's not always an easy job. I think it's very emotionally laborious, like
Mm-hmm.
to
It
do
is.
right. It's very hard work that you're doing for free.
Mm-hmm. It
Well,
is.
well, Sarah, if you had to advise someone, perhaps an immigrant who
Mm-hmm.
was considering doctoral research in the US, what would you tell them?
Hmm. Ah, I'll first say doctoral research. The Lord is your strength. It is not easy, but nothing in life is easy, Abby, right? But
Yeah.
it's like, aside having the determination and willpower and everything, I would say that one shouldn't toss their identity and previous experiences away. So, for instance, if you're in Nigeria, like if you're Nigerian, your experience in Nigeria should not be something that you would like just put at the back seat and never look back again just because you want to come and consider studying in the US. I would also say have an open mind, have an open heart, because it's amazing how we come into the new like system with expectations, with a fixed mindset, hoping that things are going to go out a certain way, and then they turn out to be in either a slightly different way or a totally different way from what we expect. So I
Mm,
would say have an open mind. I would also say that like for America, it's really a land of opportunities. Um, Even if you might not feel at it at some point in time, but there are places and opportunities that you can actually be yourself. There are also spaces that will try to silence you.
mm,
No doubt about that. But again, there's that thing of having to overcome that thought of, hey, no matter how much you try to silence me one way or the other, you can still show yourself and still be yourself. And so knowing that US is that place where there are opportunities for you to be yourself. It might not be fully to the extent that you want it to be,
mhm,
but at least to some extent, I would say US is. I would say you would also have to consider that in mind, as well. And basically, yeah, considering other things, I would say finding one's bingo. Like,
mm,
what do you think beyond academia? Because that's another thing. Like, people just, yes, I'm in the US for a PhD, but then I've realized that my life is not just about PhD. Is it mostly about PhD right now? Yes, but it's not just all about it. There are
yeah.
other things as well. There's the social life, there's the professional life, like life after school, that is also waiting for you as well. And also the US has that, it's also has those outlets for you to connect to people beyond the world of academia. So having to also think, like, be intentional, like what groups
Mm,
of people do you want to connect with? What international communities, either in the school of interest or the state of interest or even nationwide, are
yeah.
you looking at? What organizations have you like heard about that you feel like, okay, these people are actually doing a good job, not just in terms of impact, but more importantly in terms of accepting people that are of diverse backgrounds and making people feel accepted, like conversations that you have with other people that maybe are
Mm,
already like PhD students here, and it might be related to your field of interest or not, whichever case may be.
Mm,
Like thinking about, oh, what are the networks, what are the groups, what are the communities or supports, both formal and informal, that could be of benefit to me here, not just in terms of my PhD studies, but even beyond, while I'm also doing schoolwork. Who are the sets of people that can go to and rant or
yeah,
just talk about things as well. So I would say like those are the considerations as well. So you find your, I
mm,
call that a bingo moment. So something that is non-academic,
yeah,
but people that are connected, that just give you that, light bulb to keep on going in spite
yeah.
of the journey of your academics.
Mm.
I would say that those things should be considered as well.
Yeah, really, really good advice. You need something that really fuels your energy. So good.
Mhm.
Oh, Sarah, we could have this conversation for 2 days, but
We can.
I'm like, we've got to wrap this up. Final,
Yeah.
final question, Sarah. If you were in like a policy seat and you could recommend specific ways for universities and academic institutions in the US to support
Mhm.
international researchers, students, to enable them thrive, within the system, be their best, and
Mhm.
just make the best of their academic or research journey, what would you recommend?
I would first off recommend that universities should not treat internationals and even immigrant populations by extension as a single group. Like you shouldn't
Mhm.
be, oh, a group of people coming and then just leaving it at the title that, oh, we're international students, like on paper, and then that's it, right? So there's a whole life we've left behind, and there's a whole life we're trying to navigate here. And so, in terms of designing like programs, in terms of even classwork, in terms of structures, there should be more accommodating of people who are not from here. They should be more open to having recommendations from internationals and immigrant populations. There should be more, how do I put it? There should be more spaces for people to feel like they belong, for people to
Yeah.
be able to do things that would give them that sense of belonging.
Hmm.
Um, and so it could be something as simple as, oh, just asking a grad student like, oh, what would you want to be in this grad office space? And then they tell you, oh, a a couch wouldn't be bad. I mean, I'm just using that as a
Yeah.
little example, but basically hearing from international students and taking them seriously,
Mm.
not just having them come into the institution as people who are here to study, but then also seeing them as like co-contributors, co-creators, like they're also part of the structure, they're also part of the system. Because in truth,
Yeah.
like institutions are not just there to make people go through the system and learn, but they are also there because people that go through the schools also build towards the school, not just in terms of research, but in terms of how the school actually runs as well.
Yeah.
So I would have that policy where people are able to, contribute regardless of their visa status
Mm.
in the institution.
Of course, of course. Well,
Mhm.
very, very well said. Like a policy analyst that you are. Well, I'm so sorry
Hmm.
to come to the end of this, but Sarah, I definitely wouldn't leave without saying thank you very much. Like you've shared so many gems, and you brought your wisdom, your very, very chill wisdom in a typical Sarah way. You brought it to us today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thank
it. I
you.
do wish you all the very best in your
Thank you.
doctoral journey. I cannot wait to come and eat graduation jollof and
Yes,
also
so
call you a professor when it is due. But
right.
I just wanted to
Hmm.
thank you and all the best.
Thank you so much, Ola. Thank you so much for
of,
having me. I
of
really do
course,
appreciate. It's such a
of
pleasure being on this episode. And I
course.
wish everyone I wish everyone a great week, and
Yeah.
yeah, good luck in your endeavors, be it study or moving to another place, or if you're already in a different country, like navigating life in that country is tough. So yeah, just wishing you all the best. And I believe that this, like, episode, and by extension the other Moments of Exclusion episodes also serve as a great resource for you to be able to see that, hey, you're not alone in this. Like, we
Yeah.
are many in this in this group. We
Plenty.
are many in this group chats, and
Uh,
you've got it. There's hope.
yeah.
Like, you'll make it
Yeah.
somehow,
Exactly.
somewhere, by God's grace.
Amen.
Hmm.
Exactly what Sarah said. Thank you also for joining. See you on another episode.
Thank you. See ya. Bye.